We're talking about.
Is this the last one?
This is the last film.
We're talking about the last film on the list. We're talking about Sarah Polley's Women Talking, starring Rooney Mara, Claire Foy. Claire Foy did amazing in this. And Jesse Buckley. Why don't you name any of the men, man? Why? Because it's just women talking. There's one man, and he's very important to the village, Austin.
Oh, yeah, August.
I'll have you know.
I listed the top.
Is that his name?
cast.
I don't even know his name.
Okay, nominations for Women Talking, which, let's get started with this list. Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Motion Picture.
I thought you said it was a list.
Yeah, it's
Exactly. Dude.
it counts.
Why are you hiding
as a
before?
list.
Why are you hiding behind a cup, guys?
That's just...
Look, man, this film was
I don't wanna offend
slow. This film was slow for it being the shortest film of the whole list. At an hour 45, it felt.
Look, you guys told
long,
me
man.
this film's about women talking, and goddamn it, they were right.
Well, listen, it's an important topic. I don't know if
For sure.
If anything, it was probably like the most political film.
It was
Absolutely.
super
Absolutely. Was it based on
political.
the true story?
I that's what I heard.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
would
adapted
imagine.
from a book. So,
Okay. Or a novel,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah.
Well, it was, look, the performances are pretty great. I'm going to
For
throw
sure.
that out first. Rooney Mara is Rooney Mara, man. She's fucking, I'll watch her in anything. Claire Foy, I hadn't seen Claire Foy since First Man. So she did really good in this, man. I liked her in this.
Was it... Did you ever see Men?
Men?
I'm looking at 3 men right now.
No.
Wow.
I don't know
He's
if
a
she
little
came
boy.
out. She looks familiar.
Men?
It was also this
I
year.
haven't seen it.
No.
I haven't even heard of it.
Huh?
Oh.
It's a horror film, right?
Yeah.
A24?
Does she come out?
Isn't she starring?
She is? Okay, yeah.
Don't you
She's
have your
really good.
laptop
She's really
in
good.
turn?
So the film is about... Sure.
Okay, so
Also
I'm gonna
about-
pass the torch to Carlos so he can tell you what the film's about.
So the synopsis of this film is going to be told to you by Carlos.
Like,
Anybody else? This film's
Castro,
about
you wanna introduce him?
I don't know what it's set in present day because that's
2010.
2010.
With the
Yeah,
Right.
we'll talk about it.
2010. I don't want to call them a cult because they're not.
No, they're
Amish
Amish.
film.
Amish?
Yeah.
Yes, they're Amish.
Mennonite.
No,
Mennonite. I would say Mennonite, not
Yeah, there we
Amish.
go. I was like, not Amish.
There's a big difference.
There's a big
Mennonites are Christians essentially, and Amish are not. Well,
Which is the big grab with this
I
one. I think they give Christians a bad name on this one.
I don't think so. I don't think so because these women are like using their faith to get through this thing too. So I don't think so.
What do you mean though? Like, why would faith have to come between this?
Don't.
Because
I know.
men are shit.
No, I know.
Horny men are shit.
I know,
That's
but what
it
does it have to do with Christians? Like, you could just leave or,
No.
you know.
Oh, because
We'll talk about it right
biblically,
now, but-
biblically,
Exactly. Fuck the Bible. Not in a bad way, but when this shit comes like that.
No,
there's
essentially. the
No, but they're
film
not. It's not because they're honoring the man.
It's
It's
about-
because
No. The religion aspect.
Women
Talking.
who have been getting attacked. And-
Raped.
Well, no. The
Some,
reason I start
some,
off
some.
by saying that, you know, and there is, I'll put,
trigger warning.
it is definitely a trigger warning. That should be noted.
Yes,
If
for
you
sure.
want to watch this film, it's great, but there is a big trigger warning as far
Absolutely.
as it being a lot of sexual violence towards women.
Not just women, but children. I mean, there's little girls who are being affected.
Yes.
So.
So big trigger warning. But it's about them being attacked by the men in the village, and the men at first try to tell them like, "Oh, you're being attacked by demons for your sins," and trying to use religion to cover up some of their
And then they all get thrown
malpractices.
in jail.
Yeah, and when they get thrown in jail, the rest of the men in the village go off to bail them out of jail, and it leaves space where the women are able to talk and have a conversation of what should we do about this now that we know that our attackers are here and it's not just us imagining this. Like, is it even right to continue this way of life? You know, especially that some of them are going to continue to be abused by their husbands and
Not to mention a few of them even get pregnant and have kids
and
Conversation.
as
So,
a result.
I have some good talking points about this film, but let's get into ratings real quick.
Yep.
Austin.
Look, okay. Let's say let me kick it off because I just want to set a preference.
Yeah.
Because we've discussed this a little bit. The topic of conversation is crucial. It's very important, and it's pretty impressive how recent it was, even if it's a true story, right? And I wish I knew. I don't know. Maybe we should look this up. But the topic of conversation is in no way, shape, or form a reflection on what we think of the execution of the film.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I think this was a pretty poor execution. I remember, look, I watched this in my little home theater thing, and I remember thinking, I'll just preface this by this. I remember watching it, and I'm like, is my bulb giving out? Why is it so dark? Why does the lighting looks really bad? The execution, it looks dusty. I understand why.
Yeah.
I understand the intention, but this isn't the Dust Bowl, man. It didn't have to be shot this way. I mean, ultimately, so just the execution of the film wasn't the best. The pacing, it's paced like a snail. I'd give it a 7. I think the topic of conversation is great. The performances are pretty great. The dialogue is pretty great. The execution of the actual film itself, I think, was pretty poor. And I don't think it necessarily belongs on this list. The same way I don't think Top Gun belongs on this list. So
Elvis.
Or Elvis. Yeah. So
I'll give
7.
it a 7.5, just because I'll talk more about it right now, but 7.5.
I'll give it like a 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah.
Austin?
So before I do it, I found a little something regarding if it's based on a real story or not.
Yeah.
So Polly has been clear that her story is fiction, but it's based on a novel by Miriam Toews, a Canadian author who grew up in a Mennonite family.
Okay.
Before the book and the film, there was a real community where women woke up with foggy memories of physical pain.
Okay.
So loosely based.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting
Inspired.
point of conversation
Okay.
for sure.
So
Again,
So we're not directly offending anybody in terms of like if it actually happens.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Not at all.
just the direct execution of the film. Yeah, it's 7.5.
yeah.
Miguel,
Didn't see it.
And by
what's your rating?
So
It's-
far.
it's
and
about
by the
right.
way, look, not for anything, but even the Academy must feel this way because this is the lowest nominated film. I think, right? Only got 2
Yeah.
nods. I think the other ones were what, maybe 5, 6, and above.
I think just Triangle Sadness was the last one
At
at
4?
3.
At 3.
So
Yeah,
you guys
Everything
think
else
it's
got a
political,
lot
right?
of love. Well,
I don't know.
Avatar had 4.
But they had
Listen,
to fit that in.
I don't know
and
if
then
it's political. I don't know if it's political because
Babylon.
3 of the 10 films we just talked about, including this one, didn't belong here. What are the other 2 political choices too? No. I don't know. I don't think
I
it's
think
super political, hard political.
What's rough is that I think the acting really does kind of like elevate it.
Yeah,
For
it does.
sure.
The
The
acting does.
dialogues,
The
I
acting.
think, are what making this a really strong
The script
picture.
was strong, so maybe it deserves a screenplay nod.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Yeah, not best picture.
Well, that's the
I
thing.
think
I think
adapted.
for subject matter,
Yeah.
that's what's really helping it for best picture because
Yeah.
the performances were strong and the subject matter.
So yes, in short, the politics.
Yeah.
I mean, here's
Not
what I'll
just like
say.
nobody, but yeah.
On a positive note, because I feel like a lot of us, we saw it and we thought it was extremely slow paced.
Yeah.
And I remember Austin brought up that the director said that they wanted to make it look like it was black and white, but it's not black
you
and
did
white.
say that. And,
And
you
I
were like,
remember my first thing was like, why don't you just
Why
make it
just-
black and
yeah.
white? Because it would have been more dynamic that
I
way.
don't think so. I think the blues and I think some of the
I agree with that.
like
I agree
it
with
felt when I could see the picture, it felt like dawn. I'm sorry, dusk. So
Yeah.
there's elements about it that I liked,
it-
but
It's because when you
I don't think I probably would have disliked it
when
even
you
more in
think
black
of
and white.
intention behind black and white, right? And this is not meant to make it look vintage, but black and white can also be very contrasty, which the film was at times. And I feel
But then I wouldn't have felt the desert.
Sorry, I
wouldn't have-
misquoted it. The director explained that the color grading of the film wanted to create a feeling of a world that had faded in the past.
Okay, faded. That's key.
That's why the film appears to be black and white. So I misquoted it.
I wouldn't
Okay,
go.
okay.
I wouldn't go with
Okay,
black
well,
and white,
that's-
but
Okay.
I don't know.
faded,
I don't have
faded,
any more.
sure, faded. I don't know. That's a kind of a stretch too. That's
Yeah.
That's from the
intentional.
director.
Because
It seems
what-
like somebody fucked up in the color grading, and they were like,
What do you mean it
That's-
faded? What faded? Like
"Yeah,
there
like
needed
because
to
the
be
societies
contemporary
didn't
issues,
fade. I mean, Mennonites are still,
2010.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
I don't
don't
know. I don't know.
Like,
That's kind of a stretch.
By the
And
way,
I
can
haven't
we
read
talk
the book,
about
so
how
I
they
don't-
dated the film?
huh?
Can we talk about how they dated the film?
how they dated it.
We
Oh,
were
with the truck?
complaining about how it's because right
Why is
before
that
I thought
horses?
that was good.
What was the
I
name of
liked
the
it. I
horses?
liked it.
No, it's because Austin and me were like, oh man, when did this film? When did it take place? Because
I
obviously,
like the build up to that.
obviously this culture is like away from like civilization, so there's going to be this distance between them. But I wonder when it is. And 2 seconds after he asked that, 2010 census,
That's it. Come out of
to
your
2010
houses.
census. Hey,
The
we're here
song,
for-
by the way, that's I had that going for it. I like the song choice, and I like how they used the song.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But yeah,
That-
but
that
it
was
was just
cool.
so
That was
much
it.
like By the way, this is modern.
Yeah.
I feel like the big goal of this film, which is the goal with a lot of films that are trying to push the medium forward as far as like representation when it comes to gender, ethnicity, is trying to give point of view and perspective. And I could, looking at the dialogue, I can definitely see that what it was tackling was this challenge of if, like, let's say women are trying to make this decision, right?
Right.
They're not just making this like I feel like the instant instinct is like, oh, they're being messed up to us. Well, fight them or leave them. But then
And
here
it's-
it's saying there's so many different dynamics. There's like these are not only like just one person being rude. This is like it's your husband, and then also how is this going to affect like your children, and also
Look,
how is this going to affect your
a lot of that stuff
relationships
just
and
didn't ring
growing up?
true for me. It didn't ring true like.
But it's
It
trying
didn't-
to
it didn't
highlight a perspective.
That's
you know?
fine. That's fine. But it didn't do a clever. It wasn't even clever in that. Like it to me, it felt like it didn't ring true for a lot of these characters who we think are very strong in their faith because they've dedicated their whole life to it. And then one of them's cursing for the sake of cursing, the other one's smoking for the sake of smoking. Like
Yeah,
But
they
it
never
just
fully
didn't ring
explained
true.
that either.
it just didn't ring true for me. It didn't ring true in any
I
way.
mean, it was like it's trying to show a response to a negative situation.
Yeah,
like
but
they're
why
bad-
put it in that setting? It doesn't have to be in that setting.
I
You
don't
could have
know.
had this conversation as a hypothetical. You could have had this conversation about a private school that goes through the same thing for their headmaster, and there probably would have been far more entertaining. Like it didn't. For you to set it in the setting, there should have been more depth, more context, more intentionality, and more research. I didn't.
Well, I mean, also this is being like adapted from a book. I feel like maybe also we talk about the strength and medium, and when we talk about books, you're able to get a lot more into the headspace of your characters. Where and in film, you're able to see it, but I mean,
I think this.
The
I
book's
think
probably gonna be-
this piece of material would have succeeded with flying colors if it was a Broadway play.
yeah, because then it would have been
I don't
bringing up
think
a
it belongs
conversation.
in cinema. And if it does belong
Oh,
in
like,
cinema,
I watched,
it just like didn't fit.
Which one?
Real women have curves.
The America Ferrera thing.
Yeah, well, I watched the play for it
Oh,
like
okay,
at the
okay,
UTEP theater,
Gotcha.
and again, it's talking about certain subject matter and the difficulties that women deal with, and also like trying to find your place in a certain time because of like having children, getting married, stuff like that, and where this one was tackling a lot of the themes of like
Being forced into that.
being forced into these boxes. Like they were even saying, there was parts in the dialogue I found were really strong where she mentions like, we haven't asked the men for anything. I barely asked them like pass the salt, and she lists all the things. Those were strong elements.
They're fun moments. I
But
mean, they're
it's like for
heartwarming
those that were
moments.
there, they're just the
Look,
film didn't.
That's why.
pull.
Yeah, and that's why I say that the top two things that this thing has going for it: the writing and the performance. That's why I think it would have just been an amazing play. I don't think, at least the execution of this film, maybe they'll try again
Would
later.
you have
down
traded this one for The Whale?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The Whale had more intentionality. The Whale had, yeah.
Babylon.
Didn't even think of it.
Babylon.
Absolutely.
No, but The Whale was my least favorite in terms of best pictures. I think The Whale should have been in place of this. I think it had way more intentionality. The Whale was written as a play too, right? So it could have been.
Yeah.
I think it was a play. Then
It was.
Aronofsky got the rights or something like that.
Yeah.
So even that felt more entertaining, more dynamic, more intrusive to like family dynamics of him and his daughter. Yeah, no, dude. Yes, I would have picked the one.
I'll also I'd open it up for this discussion.
And it sucks, man, because I get it. All women lead, women director. I get you. I'm with you.
Well, that's what I was gonna bring up. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, a subtle elephant in the room is
Yeah.
that we're all men.
Yeah.
So
Yep,
this
absolutely.
this
That's a
is
good point. It's a great point.
It's a big.
I think
It's a-
Sandra fell asleep through it. I'll say that much.
I'm with you, Sandra.
My wife fell asleep through it.
I fell
She
asleep
didn't.
too.
She didn't finish it.
And that's
And
the
this
challenge.
was
I was
the film
not
she was
enough.
looking forward to the most because she likes Mennonite culture and she likes to study different religions, different
Oh
like
shit!
Yeah.
And she
culture,
still
like-
fall asleep.
I
She fell
wanna-
asleep through it
I would-
really early on, like maybe 20 minutes in, she fell asleep.
Yeah.
So
I was dozing off.
yeah, so I mean,
I would love to hear more, I guess, women filmmaker perspectives
Yeah.
on this film because, sure, it's a subject matter that I can definitely see it hitting home in a lot of other facets in women's life. But
Yeah.
maybe because I couldn't connect with the subject matter, maybe because of the directing styles didn't help. In
And
any way.
listen.
Yeah.
Another thing to note in terms of the politics of it all, there's no other film on the list that has a woman director. There's women leads, but no women director.
Pretty heavy women leads at that. You have like Everything Everywhere.
Yeah, definitely
Tar.
women leads. I mean,
Yeah.
and diverse women
Yeah.
leads. That's great, but no women directors. So maybe this is why this had to. And by the
Also,
way, this
this
wasn't
is like-
nominated for directing either. You know, so I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Politics are
Also,
weird.
Frances McDormand finding herself in another.
Dude, that's who I thought. She's in there for 5 fucking minutes, and she's the executive producer of the film. I might add. Like, come on.
I was gonna bring that
I
up.
thought she was in this movie more, man. I wanted to see more of her in this shit. She
Oh,
didn't,
right, because
Almost like all
she didn't
clients
do
did
dick.
that with Daniel Bruhl.
because like she comes out for like a little bit.
I was
and then
thinking
it's
of
like a
her,
really
Austin, when I mentioned that. It was her that I was fucking thinking
It was
of.
like a really strong, like kind of monologue and performance, and then leaves, and then we see her at the end of the film, and she looks.
She's like nodding. Why didn't she play one of the other characters? She would have been great for any one of those characters.
Oh,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
of the older ladies.
Also, I think this is just to keep McDormand's streak of like getting like Oscar
Yeah, maybe,
nominations.
right? She
because-
just won one,
yeah,
man.
like
Let it go.
Nomadland, Three
Three
Billboards.
Billboards.
This one.
It's because there was no roles for her in McDonough's film in Banshees, so she's like, "All right, I'll just make my own then."
Yeah, I'll make my own Oscar film with. Black
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about women
But
talking.
So
It's
Hey.
important. Check
It's
it out if you got an
Trigger
hour and a half
warning.
to kill. Trigger
it's on
warning.
Apple TV as is today.
It's on Apple TV. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll say this right now. I need more perspective, at
Yep,
least from
same here.
from women filmmakers
What are we
or
missing?
women audience members,
What are
just
we
because
missing?
yeah, I can connect.